Following on from Neil's excellent presentation about lenses, their construction and the effects they have on film, we're going to take a quick look how this affects actual filmmaking. We're going to start by taking a look at focal length and its effect it has on the background. My wife Sue stood about 25 foot away from me and I was using my longest telephoto lens of 210mm. Sue stayed exactly where she was, but I moved closer, reframing her almost the same with a 135mm lens. Sue continues to stand in the same place and I simply move further forward using a wider angle lens represented by a smaller number, trying to keep her more or less framed up the same in each case. You'll notice that the wider the lens, the more of the background we actually see. This illustration tries to demonstrate what's happening. The closer you are, the wider the field of view. Remember, the subject hasn't moved. At 18mm, I'm about 1 foot from her face and have a wide field of view from behind her. Standing right back 25 foot away on a 210mm lens, it looks like the background is very much closer, and it's also now a little bit blurred, which we can use to our advantage later. This phenomenon can be used in a dolly zoom, or what is often called the vertigo effect. With expert timing and practice, you can dolly the camera in and zoom out at the same time whilst keeping the same frame to create a weird effect. With expert timing and practice, this can have a disorientating effect on the audience. You may also need someone to pull focus at the same time. I set up a few volunteers on the dining room table to illustrate how f-stops affect the depth of field. With a large f-stop of 22, we get a wider or deeper depth of field, and the focal point is hardly noticeable as it changes from one subject to another. When we use the smallest f-stop number, 2.8 in my case, this gives a much narrower or shallower depth of field, and as we focus from one subject to another, the others tend to go out of focus, and we can use that narrow depth of field to draw attention to the thing that we want the audience to focus on. When we use f-stops and focal lengths together, we can start to create a cinematic look. In these screen grabs from hairy hands, the f-stop of 2.8 and the 18mm focal length doesn't change at all, but by moving the camera in closer, we have a much narrower depth of field. And in this extreme close-up, you can see that his eye is in focus and his nose and ear are out of focus. We can use depth of field to our advantage.